Today we're talking about the importance of taking notes for your spiritual and magical purposes. Welcome back. I'm Veronica from Earth Mother Apothecary. Today, as I said, we are talking about taking notes. Why is taking notes important when it comes to spiritual and magical work? Well, I'm going to tell you some reasons. When you're doing spiritual and magical work, you want to get the most out of your time and out of your energy and out of the tools that you're using, right? So you want to make sure that everything is as powerful and as effective as possible. So how are you going to know what's powerful for you, what's effective for you, and just what is good for whatever set intention is that you're looking to manifest? The way you're going to do that, the way you're going to know that stuff is by taking notes. When you work with an herb, write down what the herb was. Say, for instance, you wanted to put out something for protection and you chose basil for protection. So you would write down that you were looking for protection, you chose basil. You would write down how you chose to use the basil, when, as in like what day of the week, month, what phase of the moon, what time of day. All of this stuff is very important because every single day of the week has its own purposes that it's good to work for. Each hour of the day is good for something. So you want to take advantage of that. You want to stack all those layers and all those energies so they work best for you. So when you do that, you also need to take notes of all of those things that you did. Again, you're going to where you put it, when you put it, how you did it, what frame of mind you were in, what your situation was. And then after your work, you're going to again take notes. What happened? What was the outcome? When exactly did you stop? What hour, what day, what phase of the moon did you stop your work? What frame of mind were you in? What were the exact results? And you're going to do this every single time you work with an herb, with an oil, with an incense, with a candle color, with a candle type, everything. If you do moon magic, you're going to want to write down the same things. What frame of mind was I? What day of the week did this full moon fall on? What month was it? What season was it? What was going on in the world at that point? What was going on astrologically? What was going on in my immediate community? Because all of these things affect your outcomes. So by having these notes, you can go back later and compare and contrast them and say, you know what, basil, I used it for protection and I used it for money and I used it for this and for that and the other thing. But it didn't work so well for me for protection. I liked it more for money purposes. Well, there you go. Now you know basil works really good for you for money, but not so well for protection. So if you need protection work, you want to use something else. That's just one example. Okay, when I do candle work, for instance, I'm going to write down, again, what day it is, what my intention, of course, was, the entire situation. I want to know what the entire situation was. I'll write it down. That way I can compare and contrast later on in full detail. What day of the week, what time I started my candle, if I used any herbs or oils or crystals or other curios with it, I want to know that and I'm going to write that down. If I carved anything in it, where I happened to carve it on the candle. I'm going to write all of this stuff down. During the process of the burning, I'm going to note down if I notice the flame doing anything strange or weird or what have you, or just how it burns in general. I'm going to note down any patterns I notice in the wax throughout the burn. And then again at the end, I'm going to note what time it was when it ended. So how many hours in total that was, what day of the week it was. I'm going to note my feelings at that time. I'm going to note any patterns in the wax that time, if anything has shifted on my area, my altar where I'm doing this work. And I'm going to then wait and see for the results. Then when the results come in, I'm going to again make note of what my results were. That way, as I'm doing this kind of work over and over again, I can see, you know what, this time when I did it with this type of candle and this herb and oil, it came out, it worked perfectly, flawlessly for me. But when I tried it a different time and I used this different herb, it didn't work as well for me. So this is the purpose of those notes, you see. It's so that you can take them and look at them side by side through all these works and see what herbs are resonating more with you. Because I can tell you, yes, this herb is for this and this and this, but that doesn't mean that that's how that herb works with you. That doesn't mean that that's the relationship you have with it. I work with herbs for many years, and I always find that I have different meanings for them than other people do because I've taken the time to develop the relationship with them. So now I find if I go by what my thoughts, feelings, my data has dictated, my work always comes out much better than if I had just gone and looked up a general purpose. What does this herb work for, or what herb is good for intuition, or whatever the case may be. So this is why note-taking is so important. I'm going to show you some of my not some of my notes, but I'm going to show you my binder, one of my binders. I have this binder. It's a 3-inch binder, and it's full. This is all handwritten notes that I've taken over the years. This is just one of my collection of notes. I have 2 other large ones like this, and then I have a smaller, like a 2-inch binder, and then I have my several journals, like just small journals that I doodle in and that I write my work down as I go. So I'm keeping notes for every kind of magical and spiritual endeavor that I get myself involved in over the last forever. Let's just leave it at that. And that is why I'm able to get such good results with the work that I do. And that is how I'm able to know, all right, this is good for that, that is good for that, because I've compiled these reference books that anytime I have a need, if I can't remember it off the top of my head, which happens, it's a lot of information, I know I have a book to go back and reference, and I have it all tabbed out by, you know, moons, candles, colors, herbs, what have you. Actually, one of these books is dedicated specifically just to herbs because I've done a lot of work with herbs over the years. So if you want to be able to get really good results with your manifestation, with your magic and your spell work, for lack of a better term, you really need to be taking good notes and going back and comparing and contrasting. So you can change your works up over time. So say I did, again, a protection candle work, okay? So this time I'm doing it this way. Well, maybe I need it again for something else. So I do it a little bit different. I use a different herb or a different oil. I'm gonna, again, take all those notes on it and I'm gonna put it in my binder near the other one. And then what I'm gonna do is once the results are in and I start seeing the effects of it, I'm gonna compare and contrast both of those. Which elements worked better, which element, what was more smoothly, which went, and I might be able to pick and choose, like take some elements from one candle, work some from the other, and create a third one that I again would then try and see how that worked. And that's kind of what we're doing. It's like a big science experiment. We're just kind of trying this one, and then we're trying this one, and then we're taking what we know works best for us from them to create the best possible work for us to do. And this is a great thing, especially if you're doing this kind of work for other people. You want to make sure that if you're saying, hey, I'm going to do this for you, you want to make sure that you're getting consistent results and not like, yeah, 10% of the time I get good results, but the rest of the time it's kind of hit or miss, you know. You want to make sure if you're taking good notes, you're going to be getting better results. As it's going to take time. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, you know, you're not just going to come right out of the gate and have all these notes compiled that you can reference. It's going to take some time, but I guarantee you it is so worth it. Your manifestation, your magic is going to increase, I would say probably at least 3-fold, if not more, just by the simple act of taking notes. So I really encourage you to get yourself a binder. You can just use a notebook like I have, this 3-ring binder, and some lined paper or whatever you want to do. You can make this as simple or as elaborate as you want, as I always say. Again, I do have smaller journals, like the hardcover bound journals that I'll write in. And what I use for those a lot of times is if I'm doing a candle work, I'll write it all down in there. And I'll write my feelings and whatever else is going on. I'll write down everything that I need to. And then later I'll transcribe it to one of my binders with just the hard data of what I did. Not necessarily what my feelings were at that point. But this is what I used. This is what happened. This was the outcome. And that way I kind of have it in different places. And I like to write things down. I love paper and pen. And so that's what I do. But if you want to see your magic, your spiritual work increase big time, start taking notes. If you're already taking notes, I would love to see your binders or your journals or whatever. You don't have to obviously show me the insides, that's personal stuff. But I'd like to see what kind of things you guys are using for your note taking and your journaling and what have you. I know there are some people that like to do the bullet journals. Some people do these 3-ring binders, or just kind of like to do creative artsy journals where they're drawing out and taking, you know, notes and making pictures all in one. And there is no right or wrong way to do this. You do what you like, what's comfortable for you, and however you're going to be able to go back and read these and understand what was going on. So thank you for watching today. I'm so glad you were here. I hope you learned a little something about note-taking and your magic work. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down below in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'm wishing you herbal blessings and good health.